So I'm recording this part. So at least you want to just look at the assignment, you want to go back and look at it, you can look at it. Lah. All right. Okay. Can you see the screen?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
All right. So this is the guideline that I'm going to give you, lah. Right. Okay. Let's go through the thing from the beginning. Okay. This is the May semester assignment that they're given you. All right. Now look at all these instructions. 3 questions. Okay. Answer all the questions. Okay. So it's quite simple. Only 3 questions for you. Easy for you to do the assignment. Right. Assignment covers 30 marks, 60 marks. Sorry. So that means each question is 20 marks. Right. Now, your assignment will be examined based on the following: complete working solution, ability to use methods available in the learning material. That means, for example, you can use tools that you learn in the classroom. For example, using tools like the SWOT or TOES, right? And then plagiarism in all form is forbidden. Students who submit plagiarized assignment will be penalized. Okay, now it's very important that many of you, this is not the first 2 classes, you've gone through many semesters already. So now I would expect you all to do a very good job, especially when it comes to writing an academic paper. All right. So you really need to learn how to write the academic paper properly. Okay. So we're going to look into, so I'm going to be a bit more focus on checking on these things. All right. So please, if you are plagiarized, I'm going to minus marks from there. All right. Second, references must be included. I mean, you must have references and taken from reliable sources. Okay, please use the APA referencing style and cite your work appropriately. Okay. Now, I'm sure all of you know what is APA referencing, right? Do all of you know what's the APA referencing?
Yes, sir.
Okay, right. For those of you who are not familiar with APA referencing, you go to the Google Classroom that I have there videos on how do you do the referencing. Okay, so now this is a bit tough for you, APA referencing and things like that, but actually, is good because when you learn academic writing, it's going to be useful for you. Next, when you go into your PhD, maybe, or you really want to, so academic writing is going to be very useful for you, right? So please follow the upper style. Really. I saw in your last assignments, many of you who have not used the upper style, you use your own style, for writing from somewhere else. So there are different styles that the Boston, APA, and few other styles are there. Okay.
Is
Now,
it APA and Howard is same?
no, different. Howard and APA are different. The difference in the sense is basically APA. What they do is they put the surname in the front. Okay. In Howard, it's slightly different the way they write it. That's all. That's only this thing. I don't know why they have so many different kind of method. Why can't they just follow one standard? Academicians sometimes a bit crack, they want to have their own way of doing things, the Oxford has got its own way, Harvard has got its own style, APA is one style, different styles they have, right? Okay. Now, there are next assignment 60 mark. Okay, fine. The submission date is before 26th of July. Okay, now 26th of July is not a lot. I don't think you have enough time. I don't know whether you have enough time. If you cannot finish, I would suggest that you ask for extension for 1 month. 1 week or what? Speak to Puan Liana. Ask her to see whether we can get a 1 week extension for your closing line. Right? Okay. So, okay, that one I leave it to you. You all talk to your thing. Right? And another thing is, I want you all to submit this together with your Turnitin. Very important, please. Because they will ask me when I'm doing marking, they look at the Turnitin line. So please, when you submit it, maybe if you're delayed, you're sending it later after the closing date, please submit your Turnitin along with it, right? Okay, and then if you, let's say, for example, you have missed the deadline and they ask you to go into the late submission, as some late submission, please CC to me one copy also. Because why? Sometimes they won't send it to me. So at least I know, okay, you have sent it, like I think Sudha last time, you sent a late submission, I remember, right? Isn't it? So, but you CC to me, yeah. So CC to me, so I was able to know, okay, I was alerted, right? Okay, so please sing to me that. All right, so after the semester is closed, the exam is closed, they give me normally about a month or so to mark all the things. So you still got time to send it in case you're late. All right. Okay, let's move on to the next page. Okay, the assignment has 3 questions and each question carries 20 marks. All right, I've put my notes in red line. Okay. Now, all your notes and assignment information is in your Google Classroom, and this is the link for your Google Classroom. I've given this to you already, right? Okay. Now, note this, each answer should be strictly limited to 600 words. Now, they have deliberately, what do you call, stressed this in the assignment notes. So, 600 words. How many pages is 600 words? How many pages is that?
Two.
Huh?
2 pages.
About 2.5 pages lah. Okay, one page normally comes to about, if you do double spacing, it comes to about 250 words, right? 200 words. So I think about
If double space, maybe two and a half.
yeah, 2.5 lah. Okay, so 2.5 words lah. Pages, I'm sorry. Okay. Now, normally earlier days, I never give you limitation. So normally you all will just write how much you want to pages of the pages you will write like now. Okay. But now here, they limited to 600 words. If you are given a 10% allowance, which means you can come up to 660 can, or you can do 540 you can. Okay? But more than that or below that, marks will be deducted. Okay. So when you are writing, you need to keep to your words. Okay? So sometimes what you do is you need to modify the words. If it's too many words, you need to maybe cut down, summarize it. You got to learn to summarize your words. Okay, so that's very important. So keep it to 600 words. Very important. And at the end of it, I want you to write down how many words. Okay, I'm not going to go and count your words, please. So I appreciate after you write your assignment, write down how many words that you put in under that, right? So what you do is you must have at least 3 references for each question. Okay, now this is very important. Every answer should have 3 references. What I want you to do is the first question answer, habis bawah itu you put your reference. Okay, you put your references below that. Okay, then another one finish, you put your references below that. Okay, like that. So you do that in that way. Okay? So your references are put in that way. So then I know that your references for this one is for this particular question. Reference for this, or you can actually put it everything at the back also can if you want to, right? Okay, if you feel that you want to lump it up together, you can put it at the back. All right, but it must be every one of it must have at least 3 references. Is that clear?
Okay,
right? Is that
sir.
clear? All right, so 3 references.
Yes, sir.
Okay, in normal situations, what they will tell you is one must be a textbook book. The other 2 must be from journals, right? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How about the journals you already gave to us to refer, right? So the reference should be from the journals or
okay. Now these journals I've given you is my actual work. Actually, I'm not supposed to give you. You're supposed to go and cari sendiri lah. So this one, what I did, I just look for you to make it easier for you. So this is my suggestion. You don't have to 100% follow that. All right. So please, it's just a guideline. In case you don't have much time to go and cari all the journals I've given you. But if you have your own, no problem, go ahead.
you can use, right?
Yeah, you can use, no problem, right? Okay, there's no restriction. You have to use this journal. This is only my own, what you call, additional thing. I went and looked for you. It might not be relevant 100% also. I don't know, but I just downloaded some, and I read through recently. Now, your in-text citations and references follow the upper format. I want you to have in-text citation. In-text means within your speech, your text of the body, you put what do you call saying who said that, what year, you refer that. Okay, so look at the video that I've given you on in-text citations. Okay, so we teach you how do you write in-text citations. This is very important because whenever you say something, who says something, you need to put in within bracket who said that, and that reference should be at the back. The longer reference should be at the bottom, but within the body you have to put it in that way. Now, in some people, what they do, they don't put there, they put it at the bottom of the page. For example, number 1, number 2, number 3. So some upper format doesn't follow that. Upper format, you have to put the word actually within the context of this thing itself. Right? Okay, let's go to question 1.
Mr. Franklin, question. Yeah. There's what do you call it? The quotes and all that, right? Sometimes when we read the articles, the articles will actually provide some sort of reference, right?
Okay.
So how do we actually? This is something that sometimes I struggle. How do I actually quote that? Do I actually quote using the writer is already put in the article, or the writer itself? I quote the writer.
Okay. Okay, let's look at some examples lah. So maybe we can,
Yeah. Thanks.
maybe I can help you on this part of it lah. So let's say, for example, let's open up any article that you have lah. Right? Okay, so let's look at Jamil and Shah lah. Okay, he's talking about emergent tech, what do you call strategic management lah. Talking about that. You see how he has written here. So this is by Jamil and Shah lah. Is it? Okay, so they have written a very good article on emergent technology. Now here, look at how he says. They are talking about two types of strategies lah. Okay, one is prescriptive approach and emergent approach lah. Okay, so when they say this disagreement will give rise to two prescriptive of strategic management, namely prescriptive approach and emergent approach, and then they put it in the bracket Lynch 2009. What does it mean? It means that Lynch has actually talked about prescriptive and emergent approach. He is the first. He has talked about it lah. So that is why they're saying Lynch and 2009. So now how they what do you call put the reference at the bottom here. You go to the bottom, you look at alphabetical order, Lynch. Now where this article, where the word is taken from, Lynch R 2009 strategic management 5th edition. This is the textbook, is it? So Lynch has also talked about it. He has talked about what do you call these two types of strategies. So what he refers to him, and he mentions this what do you call the Lynch there here. Okay, does it answer your question or
yeah, partly. My question is that can you go back to the part that he makes reference to Lynch?
Okay, where?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
So let's say I wanted to quote in my what do you call that assignment.
Okay.
So am I supposed to quote Lynch or the writer of this article?
Okay, good question. All right. So you can actually use both also if you want to. You can quote Lynch also the same way, right? Or you can even, let's say, quote this guy, you can actually, what you do is you can actually use that, like, for example, you can say, Jamil, you have to use this way, you have to use Jamil and this guy, what's his name? When you talk about these two fellas,
Shah.
Jamil and Shah, within brackets, you put there within brackets, the year, this 2015, is it? Jamil, yeah. Quote Lynch saying, they quote Lynch, 2009, saying that, prescriptive approach and emergent approach are two of the, what do you call, popular, strategic management direction. Or you can do it in that way. Or you can directly quote Lynch, you can say that also, right? So then, if you want to quote Lynch, then you need to put Lynch at the bottom. So if you this way, you don't have to put Lynch at the bottom. You just have to put Jamil and Shah at the bottom, because we know that, this is taken from Jamil and Shah. You can use that way. Okay, now another thing I want you to do is a language, in academic writing, you don't say, now here, what do you call, Jamil and Shah have said that, there are two different approaches, prescriptive and emergent approach is there for strategies, right? When you don't say, Jamil and Shah said, you don't say said, you need to use a different word. Okay, there's an academic writing, the language you use is a bit different. You can say words like Jamil and Shah concluded. You can say they concluded. You can say for example, for example, I can say, let's say I can say, Jamil and Shah, 2005. I must say like this, they concluded, So when their conclusion is, they said something in conclusion, then you use the word, have concluded that there are two types of strategies, okay? Concluded. You can use the word concluded. Or you can even say, what do you call, words like argued. Okay? Jamil and Shah argued, that there are two types of strategies, argument, for example, it is not a conclusion, but maybe they are discussing that, so argued, these are the kind of words you use, don't say Jamil and Shah stated, or said, don't use the word said, you must use the word, like, for example, they argued, they are concluded, or another word is
articulate. Articulate.
Yeah, you can use articulate also. Purported, is it also another word they use? They mean Suggested lah, or you can use the word suggested like that. Jamil and Shah suggested there are two types of strategy. So when you do that, you must always have the year Jamil and Shah 2005. Why? Because sometimes Jamil and Shah would have written few articles, right? Maybe they've written in 2005, maybe they wrote another one in 2006. If they wrote in 2005, they two articles, then you need to put A and B. 2005A, 2005B. Okay. So you need to find out what is the format in the what do you call thing. How do you go about writing it? Like you got to look at the format. Okay. All right. So this is how you what do you call look at the words. Is that okay? So that does it answer your question?
Yes, yes. Thank you very much.
All right.
Thanks.
So now let's look at this question. How you go about doing this question. Now, the question one is firm's mission statement can improve and hurt the performance of a firm. Explain the reason for such an argument. Okay, so this is the question that we are answer, right? Now, the first thing in answering a question is understanding the question. Okay, if you understand the question properly, and then you understand what are the different parts of a question. Now, in this question, there are how many parts are there? There's only one part. It talks to you about explain the reason for the argument. I mean, the argument is what? Firm mission statement can improve and hurt the performance. Actually, it's not and it should be all or hurt the performance of a firm. Which means what he is telling is the person who had the question is telling that mission statements are good. Remember, we talked about mission statements. They can actually help the performance of the firm, but at the same time, they also can hurt the performance of a firm. Okay, so now what you need to do in your answer is give reasons for the argument. I mean, both sides. Okay, so what you need to do is, first of all, this is what you need to do. Okay, the question asks you to argue the theory that a firm mission statement can improve or hurt the theory. Okay, so now you start off your question with this. Okay, a firm mission can actually improve or hurt the performance of a firm. This was postulated by O'Gorman and Doran in 1999. First of all, you need to state who discussed this. I mean, where this thing came from. Anybody who talk about this or not? This kind of thing. So first of all, you got to say that, actually this concept or this idea was first argued by, what do you call, postulated. Postulated means that they theorize, they have a theory, saying that, this can happen. So you need to state who discussed this in the article. So maybe you need to give one short paragraph about talking about, where this idea came about and why this idea came about, Maybe you need to look at that. So go to the articles and read those, and then you can pick out and put that. Now,
question. Question. Yeah. The what do you call it? The writer who wrote this, O'Gorman and also Doran, you've actually provided that article. Thanks, but it's only one page.
Yeah, I know. Okay, because I could not copy the thing down. The thing is about you guys. Since you all are students, you can actually access the library. I think you all are really not doing that. I can access the library. I have no access to the library. And when you are paying for your fees, it's also a part of it. You can access a huge library of all these, where you can actually download the whole entire thing. I tried to download, I couldn't get because I have no access to that. So I only got what I could get is I copied from here and there what is free, and what you call. I have some backdoor way of entering and getting all the. A lot of these journal articles are not free. You need to pay for it. But as a university, they are actually paying for this. So you all need to really go and look at and download that. So I agree with you, yes, because I just pick up one or two things from there. That's all. So you need to go and download the entire article, and find out how you can. Do you all have access to the library?
Yes, sir.
Yes. So please,
sorry, I have tried to download, right? But it's also same thing, we don't have full access.
Oh, is it?
Yes. I've tried it before.
Oh, okay. All right. So then you'll do some backdoor ways. There is another website that I use. It's actually a pirated website. Sorry. Which actually you can download all the what do you call this thing. It's called SkyHub, SCIHUB. They Google that SCIHUB. It'll give you all the articles which are all locked by people. You can actually get it. Okay. Next, you need to give the reasons for that guy. Why is it they are saying like that? What are the reasons, like, they? And then finally give examples of how the mission statement had disrupted the performance of the company with proof from articles. All right. Okay. Now I've downloaded some articles for you. One is Gorman and Doran. There's only one page. I'll see whether I can get the entire this thing for you or not. Okay. Another one that is very good is this guy. Okay, he comes from Jordan. He talks a lot of things about this. Let me see whether I can pull up this particular thing for you. Can you see my screen now? The impact of mission statement on performance, an exploratory study on the Jordanian banking industry. All right. So, okay, now what is the banking industry and what is the mission statement line? Are they? Okay. So now look at it. I've highlighted some of the information here. Given that a mission statement is perceived as a starting point of shaping the direct, you can use this. It says that mission statement is very important. You can start off with this saying that mission statement is a starting point of what you call shaping the thing. So you need to paraphrase. Cannot copy exactly like now somebody
This
did.
one you download in the GC, isn't it?
Yeah,
Sir,
yeah.
this one.
Yeah, this one ada. But it's not highlighted lah. Highlighted, I bought sendiri lah. Yang
Right.
I download into the upload the thing don't have the highlighting lah. If you want, I can give you lah. If you want, I can upload again for you later on. For whatever that I highlighted, I can upload it so you're easier for you lah. Right? If you see, there was a test that is done, empirical test. Empirical means what? Empirical means is doing research based on analysis numbers lah. That's called empirical. When you talk about empirical means that is basically numbers. They mean they did a research, how many hundred people, so empirical research is basically basing on numbers of people. How many people like this thing, how many people don't like, so that's called empirical analysis. Right? Okay, say at all, in 2000 found that more than 84% of managers believe that the mission statement among the most important managerial tools. They found that, it's a very important thing, right? You can go to the finding and discussions, okay? So when you're arguing for and against thing, remember now you're arguing a mission statement is good, mission statement is not good. Hurt. Okay. So now when you're talking about mission statement that is good, you can talk about this line. It says that, argue that a short mission statement is straightforward impact on members line. So here you can say based on the based on the research done by this guy shows that what does he talk about performance? He's just saying that the banks, they have mission statement. They never talk about the performance, okay, he only talks about banks with one word, things like that, so maybe these articles are not the all content, all the right articles, maybe you need to really research a little bit more for your this thing, And let's go to the conclusion. Normally, the conclusion is where you can pick up some information, right? So the correlation analysis demonstrates a weak and insignificant positive relation between components of the bank performance, which means, okay, this is good. Look at this one. Finally, the findings do not support the residuals hypothesis. So he did a hypothesis saying that, his hypothesis was, is that basically mission statements help. Remember, you go back to the hypothesis. Hypothesis is here. Hypothesis is assumption, Now, when you do research, it's basically like that, What you do is you have a hypothesis and then you prove whether your hypothesis is correct or not. His hypothesis is basically, where is the H hypothesis? Where the hypothesis is slide on. What he says is here, he says that based on his findings, after the research that he has done, he says there's a weak and insignificant positive relationship between components and banks' performance, which means the mission statement, the components of the mission statement and the performance bank is not much related, which means there's not much a relationship, From him, he says that there's no relationship, not much of a relationship, not insignificant relationship, which in the performance. From this is what his research is. So you can quote this guy, Alwane, and say Alwane in 2015, research on Jordanian banks, he discovered that actually, there is there's an insignificant positive relationship between, a mission statement and the performance of the banks. So you can state that, so you can say this guy did this research and then he found it didn't work. Then what you can do is you can look at somebody else who have done and find out that, that has really helped, a mission statement has really helped. And then you can argue both and see why and what kind of situations lie, So then you come up with your what do you call answer. Why you think is it? You read through the journal, but you see, you must be careful. Reading journal, you mark it like what I mark, is it? So then easier for you to
Keyword.
come back. But the keywords, yeah.
Identify the keyword, yes.
Identify the keywords. What are they talking? Which are the areas that we really need to go and look at, is it? And which are going to be useful, because the question is talking about arguing for and against. They mean mission statement can improve, mission statement can disrupt, all right? Okay, so next, let's look at the next one, all right? And this is what you call mission statement company performance evidence from Malaysia. Okay, so I read this article. This lady is from UUM. See? So she has written about Malaysian companies. She's taken 500 companies from Bursa Malaysia, publicly listed companies, and look at the mission statement. But what she has done is a bit different. She's looked at all the components. Remember, when you talk about mission statement, it should have 8 components, right? Okay, so she's looked at it and see how many companies have got all the components of the mission statement, in the components, all the components, embedded in their mission statement, and she did the research on that. Okay, so maybe it might not be very practical for you for answering this particular question, right? So you might have to search a little bit more and get a few more what you call journal articles like that. All right, is that clear? Okay, so you
Yeah.
might answer this. So basically, you know how to answer this question. First of all, very simple. Don't explain too many things. Okay, so you just have to find out who mentioned this thing and then give examples, all right? Give example if you can, of how mission statement has disrupted the performance of a company with proof from articles. So you can look at Google, and you can even use website also to give a what do you call this thing. All right. Okay, let's move on to the second question. Question number 2. Now, SWOT analysis focuses on both the internal, the resources, the capabilities, and external attributes of a firm. We did this, right? We look at SWOT. SWOT talks about strength and weaknesses, right? However, without the analytical tools or model for analyzing a firm's environment, SWOT analysis provides no guidance on how these firm's environmental questions are answered. That means, even though SWOT can tell you what the threat, external threat is, but it cannot help you to analyze the threat and come up with a strategy. You agree, right? Isn't it? We looked at that. SWOT can only tell you what is a threat, what is a strength, but what to do, how to overcome, how to mitigate, the risk or the threat, you don't know, right? So it's not enough, lah. So describe the tools or model normally used to analyzing industry forces and firms' internal resources and capabilities. I mean, what other tools can you use or suggest? This is my suggestion. I suggest you use Porter's 5 forces and TOES. Okay, you don't have to follow that, but this is something that I would suggest because it can really help you. And so I've downloaded some articles for that, okay, for you. Okay, now this is the thing. Now, first of all, how to answer. These are the steps. First of all, first one, don't waste time explaining about SWOT here. What is SWOT analysis? We don't waste time because we have come to a level where we know what is it. Now, what you got to do is very simple. You mentioned that SWOT is not sufficient to analyze. Go straight to the point because we only have 600 words only. You don't have a lot of time, is it? A lot of to explain. So just mention why SWOT is not sufficient to analyze. Okay, for example, you can quote from Picton and Wright. Okay, Picton and Wright is here. He said Picton and Wright, 1998. Okay, suggested that SWOT is is a very simplistic tool that may cause strategic errors. Okay, so this is the article that they have written, is it? Okay, so let me make it a little bit bigger for you. Okay, so this is the article from Picton and Wright. What they said, if used simplistically, the SWOT framework is a naive tool. Naive means very simple, which may lead to strategic errors. Okay, so who said that? This guy said that. So he's the one who said that SWOT. It's not you saying, is it? It's this guy who said that. So you need to write that, and say who said that particular thing. Okay, that's the first part of your answer, right? So say who said that, from which article, which is thing. Okay. Second, what you do is now you talk about different tools that can be used. Okay, so now what you do, you can talk about what are the different tools like, okay, and this is another article. We look at what you call Proctor and Rucco. He talks about different types of tools that can use. I think he talks about stoves here, right? So now what you do is the second part you talk about. Now you can talk about TOES. You talk about how This has been used in the information from SWOT and developed strategy. You can quote Rucco and Proctor. Okay. Now you can also you talk about Porter's five forces. Okay, you can talk about Porter's five forces. All right. So these are the different tools, right? So here you can say that earlier you talk about TOS is not relevant. Then you can talk about there are other new tools that are being used, really, and we will discuss this slide. And then you talk about the TOS matrix which has been used. So now here again, no need to elaborate too much on TOS. Okay, so just talk about the key things only. Really. Why is TOS relevant? Okay, because it can give you what you call you are able to come up with strategies based on TOS line. Okay, let's say for example you take Rucco. All right. Okay, so Rucco, this is so a number of critics that claim that the output from a SWOT is often trivial or so broad is relatively meaningless. Okay, so this is also say you can mention that earlier the guy said what this fellow said that it is very naive, very simplistic, is it? And Rucco has also Rucco 20 what do you call this thing has also mentioned has also mentioned that SWOT analysis, the output from a SWOT analysis, okay, or result. Don't use the word output. You have to rephrase it. Result from a SWOT analysis is very trivial. Find another word for trivial, and broad. So it is actually meaningless. That means two people have actually told you that SWOT is not good enough, for you to come up with strategies. Okay, so you can actually quote that line. Now, Mintzberg comes again because when you talk about strategy, Mintzberg has written a lot of articles on strategy line. Okay. Now, in this article, we look at strategic managed planning in practice. Okay, so now, for example, he says, what Mintzberg says is basically, and this guy, when he is telling you that, what he says, two methods are employed in putting together the company's strategic plan. Two methods for employing are detailed below and show how they are Porter's five forces and the TOS matrix. Now, this guy in his article, he uses two different things, other than SWOT, is it? So what he says, Porter's five forces and SWOT. So then, the second part of the question is now right. You said that, SWOT is not good enough. So according to this guy, Picton, and this one, he says that, Porter's five forces and TOS are additional tools that we can use. Who said that? This guy said that, right? Okay. Now, what do? You explain about TOS matrix, right? TOS matrix. Remember, when you're writing down articles, don't put points like this, 1, 2, 3, 4 points. It should be in a prose form, continuous prose. You can put different paragraph to emphasize you're talking about a different section. Okay? In TOS matrix represents a mechanism for facilitating linkage. This is an explanation about TOS. Now, TOS matrix was started by, developed by this guy called Way Rich in 1982. Okay, I think so lah. Okay, so here he talks about some more what he call. Okay, remember this word? Okay, he contended. That means he argued. He contended. There's another word you can use. He contended. That means when somebody he contended that the competitive environment is created by interaction of 5 different forces in a business. Who contended? Porter. You see how he written? Porter. You see how he's answering. Porter in 1982. B means what? What do you mean by B? What do you mean by B?
He got another.
Yes. So if you look at the bottom there, you think, you look at P, mana P? Mana Porter? Porter tak ada pun. Okay, he hasn't put in the Porter there also. I don't know why. Oh, cited. Sorry, this is not. Yeah, he references this here, Porter, is it? Now you look at Porter. Look at this one, Porter M. Michael Porter. In 1980, he wrote an article, How Competitive Forces. Then 1980, again he wrote. This guy got a lot of work, a lot of free time, I think, so he keep on writing articles, is it? So in 1980, he wrote 2 articles on this line. So this is how you quote A and B, is it? Okay. So, and this is the way how you, what do you call it? So actually, I learned how to write articles from other people. The way they wrote, I just copy the cara dia orang tulis lah, is it? Porter 98 defined the forces. He contended that the competitive environment is created by the interaction of 5 different forces acting on a business. Okay, so this he talks about the thing. Okay, so now here he gives examples here, so some examples are given here. He talks about uh, he talks about the USA market, the UK market here. It's a quite a good article, this one, you can actually read through. It's simple language, not very, what do you call, complicated, see? Because this one is in a magazine, so that is why it's a bit more simpler. The way, the method of writing is very simpler, like, see? Okay, the TOES matrix is easy to use. Sorry, yeah. It gave a good idea of the company and where he stood in the marketplace, like, okay. So you can use these words, you see, put a very good foundation. And then he said the main drawback. Okay, this is interesting. Sometimes you also have to talk about what are the negative effects of these models, Like, for example, we talked about Porter's model is very good, but there are drawbacks of this model also, right? So you need to also talk about drawback if you can, So the main drawback of Porter model was paradoxically is a strength. There is the amount of detailed information required. This can be prohibitive to its practical use. For example, the level of computer information is very detailed and may not always be available. Because, for example, if you want to talk about number one, the level of competitor details, you don't get all the information because people don't want to reveal information, is it? So that itself basically is a challenge. You can't get it, so you cannot really identify the kind of threat, the competitive threat that you are facing. So basically, he's taking this is basically the problem with what do you call Porter's this thing, So he says TOES is easier to do, right, rather than what do you call Porter's, So you can argue that, you can talk about that, see? Is a Porter's time consuming to use? All right, it's very convenient. This is a good article, actually. Right, so where you can use it to analyze and critique this thing, All right, so you can use this one. Any other article again? Picton, is it? Picton is the one that talks about use simplistically. The SWOT framework is a naive tool which will lead to strategic errors, Okay? All right, so that's the thing about what you call question 2. Any questions for this on question 2?
No, sir.
Okay, all right. Now let me.
Yeah, okay, sir.
Okay, yeah. Now, if you still have problems, no problem. You can WhatsApp me anytime. We can even do a one-to-one when I'm free or what. It's not a problem,
Sure, do, sir.
We can do a
Sure.
Zoom. Also. No, not an issue. I don't mind helping you guys out. Okay. So next week also I have a class. So in this next whole week, I can you all have any questions you can ask me. No problem. Okay. I'm at home only quarantine, not doing anything much, That's all of us,
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just doing some housework and things like that,
Mhm.
Working at home is very challenging, right? Isn't it?
Yes.
How many of
Like
you?
mine, I have kids.
Yeah,
EDPR.
lagi
Yes.
susah
Mm.
taking care of kids at home, is it? And sometimes
Yeah.
not helping also. You kena jaga semua, That's
Cannot
enough.
do work.
And he is more interested in doing something else, They'll probably buat kerja rumah, So it's struggling actually, right? So mine actually working at home is something new, paradigm shift, is it? Because when you work from home, sometimes suddenly you're sitting down doing work and then your wife calls you, oh, the one not working, this one not working, the bulb not working, that one not working. So, you cannot ignore also. So you got to go and do halfway your train of thought is lost, I don't know whether any of you feel this. Sudha, how you feel that?
Same.
You took the words out of my mouth, Mr. Franklin.
So at home, office is different. You're focused on work and you come back home. Oh, okay,
Yeah.
go away work and you do all the thing. See,
True.
everything is all joined together, So your work also is not 100%. Kerja rumah pun bukan 100%. So it's a bit of a mistake. So not everybody has learned or mastered the art of doing it, lah.
Yeah. Agreed.
Yeah, true. So okay, now let's go to the third question. The third question. Third question is a very interesting question, right? And I find it very interesting also, basically. Now, okay, we finished this already. Michael E. Dobbs also talks about Porter's 5 forces, You can also read that one about Michael E. Dobbs. I haven't covered that one, all right? And then the conclusion part, after you talk about both, right, you talk about conclusion. In the conclusion part, you can talk about the challenges. Remember, we just now we saw the other article, you talk about, According to this guy, he said that it's easier to do what you call a toast metric rather than a what you call a Porter's five forces. Because Porter's five forces, what are the challenges you have? Like? Maybe you can just state that. So in your conclusion, you can say this thing like, it looks nice. You started off the thing. You talk about the what do you call SWOT is not so good enough. Then you talk about new ideas from others like Porter's and this one is a better way. You explain a little bit about it, and then finally you come to the conclusion. You talk about this thing. So you don't have to explain a lot about Porter's thing because the question assumes you already know something about Porter's and all that, right? So don't have to explain too much. Okay, question 3 and the last question. In what environment or industry condition emergent strategies can help the firm to compete successfully? Okay, now this is a very good question, right? Because we are talking about strategies, emergent strategies now, right? Now, define and discuss emergent strategies. Now, first part of the question is you need to talk about what is emergent strategy. Okay, discuss about this lah, right? How different is it from deliberate strategy? You can use Mintzberg and Waters. Now, Mintzberg and Waters, I've got 2 articles here, Mintzberg and others. The idea of emergent strategies actually started from Mintzberg because he is also another guru of what do you call strategic management. All right.
Discussion of what strategy.
Okay, now we're going to show you this video. We have already seen part of this video. I'm going to show you a little bit about what he talks about here. We saw this in your thing. It's also in your notes, He talks about emergent strategies.
Over the last few minutes is not in any way intended to be comprehensive, and there are many important perspectives that are excluded. For example, Henry Mintzberg, one of the most well-respected business strategists of our day, would want to emphasize the important differences between an intended strategy, an emergent strategy, and a realized strategy.
So Sudha, this will explain to you. Remember your question that you asked just now earlier about intended and emergent strategy. Okay, this will help you. So there you have intended strategy. Intended strategy is a strategy that the company wants to adopt after doing all the analysis, Porters and all kind of BCG, everything you did. Now you said this is a strategy we're going to do, adopt. That's an intended strategy. But the realized strategy, realized means what is the result, actual strategy that applied might be different from the intended strategy. Okay, so there are 2, intended strategy and realized strategy. What actual strategy was adopted. Okay, now it will be different now. Let's look at that.
Strategy. He would want you to know that sometimes strategy is really more about what you actually do rather than what you intend to do. That is, your real strategy emerges as you do it and may not line up with your plans.
Okay, so that's all. So basically from here, we understand what? The intended strategy and there are emergent strategy. And where this emergent strategy comes from, we basically, is due to the changes in the environment. Okay, so your business environment has changed. For example, before COVID-19, a lot of them would have had some intended strategy. Okay, intended strategy would be to what? Okay, one a good example I can tell you is companies like T-Life. But T-Life before before the pandemic, I remember the guy, the owner of T-Life. His name is Brian Liu. So what Brian Lewis had a strategy. So his strategy is to come up with new products in the market, F&B, all basically F&B kind of product to come into that. And then he wanted to grow the business. They wanted to have 500 stores nationwide by this thing. And then boom, what happened? The pandemic hit. Once the pandemic hit, what happened? Your intended strategy, was not realized. Okay. So then what happened? New strategies emerged because of the lockdowns. What he thought is, okay, now there's no point for you opening up shop like that. What I really need to do, I need to start building up what you call an online presence. Okay, so what they did was they actually wanted to do the online, but online was not so high in their list at that time. But because of the pandemic, what happened? They fast-tracked the online, and they made that. So that became an emergent a strategy, And now today, okay, so they are very well developed. Their online delivery services are well developed today, because of the emergent strategies they have. So the realized strategy now is different from what has been intended. So maybe the intended strategy got to put on hold until the pandemic is all over. And now what they do, they have gone into an emergent strategy. Same thing, AirAsia. Asia also did the same thing. The intended strategy now is disrupted because of the environment. Now, my question, what type of situation will emergent strategies play a role? That's a question in the thing, okay? If you look at the question, now the question is, in what environment emergent strategies can help the firm to compete? That's the actual question, is that what environment can it help to compete? In what kind of environment you think?
Can we
Hello?
say because of this pandemic?
Okay, yeah, pandemic. All right, you're right, because of the pandemic is one. But in general, what kind of situation?
Increasing of competitors in the same industry?
Okay, increase your competitors is one. Okay, now what the thing according to Mintzberg? Let's go back to Mintzberg. The answers will be there, lah. Let's look at the answer is there, lah. Okay? Mintzberg and who else? Mintzberg and there's one more. Jamil, right? Is it Jamil? I think Jamil, lah. Okay, so here he talks about. Okay, look at this. Can you see my screen now? Okay, you see the thing.
Yeah.
Let me talk about, give an example of Virgin Group in an article. He talk about Virgin Group. This Virgin Group, they hit a bump on the road. They had a strategy and they hit the bump on the road. He says the example of Virgin Group, which we used before. I mean, he explained earlier, you could read through, could serve a good purpose here. The strategy of Virgin Group is emergent. You say the strategy is emergent, okay? As they look for the opportunities to come their way and does not plan, mistake, I think, plan in advance for it. As a CEO of Virgin said, opportunities are like buses. There is always another coming line. He said opportunities are always like buses are always coming. All the theory or emergent perspective advocate uncertainty and unpredictability of the environment. So what does he answer you? What kind of environment is it that emergent strategies can help to compete? What kind of environment?
Uncertainty and also unpredictable.
Yes. So both basically what he is selling is from his research that they have done, the kind of environment that fosters what you call emergent strategies is basically what is basically uncertain environment. Okay. Now where is this guy? Jamil. Okay. So Jamil talks about that. He says that Jamil talks about this a marking here. Okay. So, in contrary to the assumption made, researchers argued that the environment is unstable and unpredictable. Okay, so this guy stated that the unstable environment difficult to achieve high level of certainty sought by the rational model. Case study of Singapore Airlines. So he has talked about Singapore Airlines. They also had what they call a strategic, what do you call this thing? Some unplanned international events. So because of that, the company had to suffer in that situation. The Lynch talk about this, 203. Okay, so what he says is basically in an environment where it's what you call uncertain environment, okay, here he talks about the two different things. The fundamental difference between deliberate and emergent is that deliberate strategy focus on direction and control, like getting things done. Emergent opens up the notion of strategic learning. Remember, we talked about what do you call organizational learning, is it? So here is more onto organization. It opens up organizational learning. Which part is it? Here, this is where I highlighted this now. Okay. Opportunity like buses. All theory of emergent perspective advocate the uncertainty and unpredictable of the environment. So he says that, you can say that this guy theorized, or concluded, that emergent, that kind of environment is uncertain and unpredictable. Environment is where you get the emergent strategies. Okay, here look, another one here. It says, this is one in line with the survival-based theory of emergent strategic management, which suggests that in order to survive in an unstable environment, firms have to adapt to the environment. This is from Stacy 2000 line. All right, so she wrote that. He mentioned that line. Right? Here he talks about Stacy stated that the learning process is the double loop. Remember, we looked at the type. What are the two types of organizational learning?
Single loop, double loop.
Double loop learning. Okay, so she said that organizational learning is double loop because when you come into the kind of pandemic, and now is where Noni you can bring in the pandemic. Okay, now you bring in the pandemic. You can say that according to Jamila, he says emerging technology, emerging strategies are more prevalent. Okay, during unstable times. During what he call in his research, according to him, what you can give example of Singapore Airlines, and how they have what do you call the emerging strategy is what helped them to overcome the crisis line, right? And then now you bring in the new pandemic. You can talk about the pandemic, and in the pandemic today is a crisis, and that is actually forced what you call many organizations to what you call to jettison or get rid of their what you call intended strategies and latch on to what you call emergent strategies. Okay, a good example would be, okay, you can talk about Asia or other companies. What they've done is suddenly they change the strategy now. No more this way. Now they change the strategy into different kind of method, and that has helped them to survive. Overcome the what you call the storm line. So you can explain in that way. All right. So this is how you conclude your entire what you call this thing, and then finally you talk about your conclusion. You say in conclusion, okay, intended strategies, and emergent strategies are both are very important. So if you look at the article by this guy, where is this guy? Mintzberg. You look at Mintzberg's article. He talks about. He has got a nice diagram. You look at this diagram. This is where he come up with this line. Intended strategies, realized strategy. Then you have emergent strategy. So most intended strategy become unrealized strategies. Okay. So a deliberate strategy is what you push to make sure the strategy goes through, and emergent strategy comes in. So this is where he talks about. Here also he talks about. I haven't marked it, but I think I read the thing where he talks about chaos. Now, another thing you need to here he talks about is what you call entrepreneurial. In first, we look at environment is a very chaotic environment or unstable environment is where you use what you call emerging technology. Another area or industry industry that emerging technologies are very what you call very much in use that CEOs use is basically in entrepreneurship. Because entrepreneurship, remember, they are small companies. So what they do is they are always thinking of new strategies, new ideas to come up with. So they always use emerging technology strategies to change their strategy. Okay, so two things. One is companies with chaos and unstable. Second is entrepreneurial firms. They also use a lot of emerging technology. It's somewhere there in the thing. I think it's in the other article that he had written, Mintzberg article, or is it the other one? He talks about entrepreneurs, right? I think there's one article he talked about entrepreneurs. Tracking strategy in an entrepreneurial firm. Okay. So here in this article, here he talks about entrepreneurs. Okay. In an entrepreneur firm, the strategy is a bit different. They use a lot of emerging strategies, as opposed to traditional firms. Traditional firms, they have like what you call the internal strategies. They don't go into emergent strategies. But entrepreneur firms, they are able, because they're small and they're very flexible and agile, and that's the reason why they're able to get into this particular use the emergent strategies to improve their performance. Okay.
Okay, sir.
All right. So now let's see what's the next in the thing question. All right, the last part. Okay, there's another article I would like to share. This is from the online article. Maybe I'll give you all the link to this line. I'll put it in the Google Classroom. Maybe Now this is a good article. Okay, here you talk about mastering strategy, art, and science. Here he talks about, some good examples is given, is it? Okay, okay. Now look at this one. Intended strategy, emergent strategy, realized strategy. Okay, can you see my screen, the
Yes,
website?
sir. Fine.
Now, here he talks about Dave McCormick aspired to be a writer. When his books weren't selling, he decided to give out a perfume as a gimmick. Now, internet strategy was to write a book. Okay, this guy. After that, what happened? It didn't work out. So what he did, emergent strategy is the perfume gave out with his books were popular, inspiring the foundation of the California Perfume Company. Now, how the California Perfume Company started off is like this. The owner was writing books, but people don't want to buy his books. So what he did, he come up with a strategy and giving out free perfume, with the book. But it so happened that the perfume was so popular, people forgot about the books, and he started a company called California Perfume Company, which is the famous company, and the realized strategy company changed its name to Avon. You all know Avon, right? Isn't it?
Yes.
How Avon started is the owner of the company was a writer and he cannot sell his book, so he give free perfume, with the book, so people buy the books, right? But it so happened that the emergent strategy was his perfume became more popular, right? So he threw away his book strategy and he started selling it's a perfume, and he changed the name to Avon, okay? And that is how Avon came about, right? So it's a good example. ESPN, ESPN, right? A father and son team, Scott and Don Rasmussen, were fired from New England Whaler. This is a what do you call football team in US, and they thought about a cable television network that focused on sport event in the state of Connecticut, right? And then they become successful as ESPN. ESPN is one of the most widely watched channels here, right? Okay, that's another example that your home shopping network, how it started, is it? So most of these companies, they started out with intended strategy, and then they chose the emergent strategy, and that emergent strategy became the realized strategy. So you can give some examples from here, and please quote this guy, yeah? Please quote this particular, what do you call, thing. Maybe I can give you in your chat room, rather than sending it there. I can give it in your chat room. Is that okay with you guys?
Yeah. Okay.
Let me do. How do I use the chat room? Let me see. Where's my chat? Okay, go to the chat room. Okay, I'm going to put the link there in the chat. Okay, so all of you copy the link, and save it somewhere. The link is there. Okay, so you can read that. Quite a lot of interesting things in that particular article, right? So I will like you to go and look at that particular article, So here it gives you intent strategy, organization, hope to think. Okay, it gives you about FedEx also, right? Where the strategic plan is Frederick Smith, had to complete a business plan for a proposed company in a class project. His plan described a delivery system that will gain efficiency by routing packages to a central hub and then pass it to the destination. A few years later, Smith started FedEx, a company whose strategy closely followed the plan he laid out in his class project. So all the business plan he wrote, is in his class, became the company. All right. So this is basically a intended strategy become emergent strategy, okay? That is the intended strategy. Okay, example, like FedEx is an intended strategy. I mean, he intended to start that, and that become what do you call this thing? Is it? Example. Now we are looking at emergent strategies. There are some examples that you can give from here. Is it? All right. So this is a good article. Okay. Now, Facebook started off with some other thing, but then suddenly it emerged into something different. So it became an emergent strategies, is it? Okay, here the strategy at the movies. All right, so there's good references are given here also. You can use it. So do you know how to code what do you call this thing? Do you know how to code what do you call thing? Okay, let me show you this. How to code a website in APA. Okay, how to code a website in APA. Okay, how to cite APA format. Actually, what you do, you just cut and paste. They will tell you how to actually do that. There are websites that can help you to do that. Like, okay, let's say, for example, now I will copy the website. Okay, let's say I put it here like this. Can you see my screen, you guys?
Yes, sir. Can.
All right. So let's say now I put it here. Okay. There are some websites that will work, some of them they'll ask you for other thing and you have to be a member and things like that, okay? Right. So let's see, site source. Yeah, get it. Okay, so the format is given to you, you can find out how to cite a website. The format will be given to you, how to do it. Let's see whether I can get this. Okay, this is how you cite the website. Okay, so this is how you cite the website. Look at this here on my right hand side. Author, surname, if you have an author there, initial, year, month, date of publishing, day of publishing, title of the thing, retrieve from. You must have the URL also. Okay, you must put the URL also in the particular thing. For example, like this. Any examples, actual examples you can see? Okay, like that. For example, you see here, author's last name, US Census, thing department, retrieve on August 13 from census. This is how you, what you call, cite a website. The website that you.
Mr. Franklin, for the retrieve date, is it on the day we?
Yes, the day that you retrieve it. Is it? Because sometimes website can change sometimes, is it?
Change, yeah.
So that's the reason why you need to do the thing. So this is the format for APA, right? How you do that in APA, all right? So try it. I mean, this is good. It's a good exercise for you all to learn how to do it in a right way, okay? Okay. References, this is how they do. See, Becker D 2012 October. Cite what you see, cite what you use, like retrieve from this website, like that. Lee writing website in text citation. So this is how they do so you must have the website reference. And when some of them they don't do that. Can you see they don't write retrieve from here also? So it's okay, it doesn't matter. It's not a hard and fast rule for retrieve from, okay? But you really need to write down the author. If no author, what if no author? You can find out. Let's say there's no author, there's a different way of how you cite it, you don't have to put the author. Okay, yeah.
Okay, sir.
All right, I think so. We have passed our time already. Right. Any questions before we end the session? Any questions?
No, sir. Anything will
Yes.
try to WhatsApp you.
You ask me. Anything you really need, you ask me. Okay. So if you have missed any one of these videos, what I've done, I will put it up on the Google site, Google Classroom. You can go back again to the Google Classroom. I will add anything, other information or new information that I have. I will also put up there, right? And if you have anything that you have found, maybe you on your own, you dig up and you found some articles is good, you want to share, please go ahead and share with me. I can put it up also on the Google Classroom for your, right? So it will be a kind of resource. So Google Classroom will be available until your exam finishes. After your exam, then I will stop the particular Google Classroom. All right. So just a kind of a place where you all, you can put everything inside there, all information you can get inside there. All right. Okay.
So, Mr. Franklin, for our final exam, will you share any?
Yes. Okay. For the final exam, what I'll do is, Liana normally will have 1 day of session, maybe 1 hour, 2 hours. They will have a session where I will go through with you the questions. So the university will give me questions yang spotted questions ke apa lah, area of focus lah, is it? So I will go through with you again on the area of focus lah. What are the questions they will ask? Okay, so they'll facilitate you lah. I remember last time when I did this, was it useful for you? Remember the exam class that I had?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah, most of it is useful, right? Isn't it? So good. So we will have the same kind of session. How was your marking or last semester? Was it good?
Very good, sir. Thank you.
Very good, sir.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Some of you got good, what do you call it? Arul, I think yours was very good actually. Article that you written was quite good. I was quite surprised actually. Okay. As a policeman, you've been good. I was quite surprised with your
Thank you
way.
very much, sir.
Way you've written. So I was actually quite thinking whether you copied it or not, but then I double check here and there, quite okay. It's quite good, is it? All right, so that was very, I was quite,
I have to take leave, sir.
oh, is it?
Take leave to sit down and do that.
So I was actually pleasantly surprised, actually, with the result. I was good. Sudha, of course, your article was good. But Arul is one I was thinking it was very good all right, so please, I want you all to improve in the way that you all start writing is it? Your word should be a bit more academic this time. Is that okay, guys? So that is how you
Sure, sure, sir.
improve all
Sure,
right?
sure. Thanks.
Okay, all right. With that, I wish you all the best. Some of you maybe I might see you all next week, for your class. Others, I might not be seeing you again. Probably, it's the last semester for you all, is it? I've already taught you all the subjects that I've been teaching. So keep in touch, And if you all have anything to share, information to share, please send to me. Remember, like I always every week or 2 weeks once I send some information to you all. So yeah, so please share with me. Some of them I actually sent to my students, is it? Recently, I sent a video about how Singapore is able to be competitive, is it? So share with me if anything exciting you come across it. Because what I really want you all to do is basically studying MBA is not just study and finish it off, It's a continuous learning process. I am learning every day. Okay, I'm learning. So what I learned in my university days, boleh buang, I'm learning new things today every day, is it? So basically, things have changed. So it's important that we need to keep ourselves updated, is it? And with the fast pace of time, sometimes we are so busy with our work, we don't have time to go and listen to all these things, is it? So I make it a point to update my students, of some new thing that I've learned or something interesting that I come across, is it? So if you have come across, share to me so I can send it to all of you, is it? So you can upgrade or update your information on that, all right? So always keep learning, never stop learning. I think that's very important now. All right. Okay, guys.
Right. Thank
All
you.
right.
So all of you go for your lunch.
Since,
I haven't had my lunch,